From Lima, Ohio, it's the Glee Holiday Spectacular! Starring Rachel Berry, Noah Puckerman, and Finn Hudson. Kurt Hummel and Blaine Anderson. Mike Chang and Tina Cohen Chang, no relation. Featuring Mercedes Jones and Rory Flanagan. With special guests Santana Lopez, Brittany S. Pierce, and the Cheerios. The Glee Holiday Spectacular is directed by Artie Abrams. Tonight's special is brought to you by Breadsticks. Now with even more Breadsticks.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV. From noirs to bottle episodes to a show within a show paying homage to bygone Christmas TV specials. I'm David Arnold.
I'm the dead pig you buy your girlfriend for Christmas named Derek B. Gale. And who is joining us today?
This is Hamish. You may remember me from such TV shows that I came on to talk about, which I like. I am being brought back here very, very enthusiastically, but to say that I like the show would be a little bit of a lie. I feel like I'm more of a scholar of this, like someone who's
God, I love this.
I'm like it's like people who study, like Pompeii or some great disaster where they're an expert, they are fascinated, but they're not happy that it happened, or they want it to happen again necessarily. I'm here as as someone who, I'm very happy to be here. I'm the host of Super Mario Moment on Glitter Jaw. I've been on a couple of Gimmicks episodes before. I even was first talked about on a musical episode.
That's right.
Of Gimmicks. So
a good musical episode, I might add, which in contrast to what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I am basically. I have the same job Ryan Murphy has. I just don't have a job at the moment.
Okay.
But
Wow.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that, because there's many directions that could have been taken, and honestly, I probably would have endorsed every single one of them.
Truly honest.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really hard episode for like the hardcore Gleeks that are listening right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, no reason to talk around it. We are here to talk about Glee and the episode Extraordinary Merry Christmas.
Yes, if you're not familiar with Glee, it is a show made for insufferable theater kids by insufferable theater kids that ran on Fox from May 2009 through March 2015 for 6 seasons and 121 episodes. I didn't realize it ran that long, honestly. The show concerns a high school show choir or Glee club, obviously, as they navigate the usual problems of high school, complications of being the most unpopular extracurricular group in their school, and obviously it's done by way of jukebox musical sequences throughout the entire show.
All right, so Hamish, you recently have rewatched the entire run of Glee. What are your experiences with this show?
Right. Okay. So I was there at the beginning when this show was forged in the fires of Mount Doom, and I was a fan. I'm making a big joke. I truly believe that even Glee's most vicious defenders talk about the show in kind of similar terms.
Yes,
Sure.
It's it did change the world, and it was very popular, and it is I actually mentioned this on the Broad City episode. It's not a criticism to me when shows have are like a time capsule of the time they come from. I find that very fascinating, and this show, especially the kind of season 2 and even season 3, which this episode comes from, it was at a moment where it kind of felt a little bit like the gays had won and homophobia was over, and it was now like, I mean, it wasn't, but this show is so casual with its kind of mockery of conservatism and just kind of flippant representation. It's not always good, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it was part of that sort of it gets better, F-hate sort of world.
Yeah.
And even though it was cringy and I was kind of rolling my eyes even like at the time, I can't deny that it was helpful to sort of have this being part of the kind of changing wind of like acceptability of queerness, I suppose. And so I liked it at the time. Now I will just caveat that slightly. I didn't go see the live show.
Okay.
I wasn't wearing proud Gleek merch or anything like that. I actually don't think I even listened to any of the music outside of the show. And I believe season 3 might have been the time where I started like fast forwarding a lot of the songs. But I'll explain why, because as you said, I recently binged the whole show. I typically, when I'm like got a really tight comic deadline, I kind of need something on that I've seen before.
Sure.
It's not going to distract me too much. That's just sort of just something to keep me company. So I watched the entire series in about a week.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Which,
Are you okay? Like, that feels like
well,
brain damage, actually.
my boyfriend on multiple occasions just told me, please don't bring up Glee. Because every time we talked, I was just like, so it's kind of like this bit in Glee, or like, oh my God, I was talking about it as if they were my friends. He'd be like, how's your day been? And like, oh my God, Sue is a nightmare. She has she's given the set list to sectionals to the vocal adrenaline team, blah, blah, blah. But I think the show has an interesting legacy. It was very, very big and it burned very brightly, very shortly.
Yep.
And even in season 3, we're dipping into its kind of decline. And season 4, 5, and 6, almost nobody I know has seen season 6 or even 5. And I'm telling people facts about like, did you know there was like a whole episode where Tina turns into Rachel? And like, do you know, like, I think that's actually season 3, but like there's so many bizarre plot lines to come. This isn't even the strangest gimmick Christmas special they do. So that's a warning for next year's gimmicks episode, I guess, that I might be back. But
this is
Don't
the
put
best.
that out. Don't put that out there.
This is the best one, and I think that's saying some things about the standard for these episodes.
It's the least offensive.
Yes, and even then, that's saying a lot for what these episodes become.
I think what's interesting is also this is where a lot of people kind of discovered Ryan Murphy, and now he's so prolific that we have a sort of much clearer understanding of his tastes. And even though it seems like such a different world, I think stuff like American Horror Story and even the like Monster Show on Netflix and this kind of type of show he makes, I think they're actually closer than people realize.
Yes.
And it's like all the blueprints of what he's going to become in here in the show.
Yeah.
I like it. And but what's sad is that like I was binging it, I was going like, hey, this first season's actually quite funny, I'm laughing a lot, and then I was like, I think actually it's one of the few shows where if you were to rank the seasons in quality order, it would just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It just like it does have it has a few more little peaks as it goes on, but it just keeps getting worse until the final season is deranged and you just want it to end. But as soon as it was over, I was like, I kind of
You thought about starting again. Oh my God, Hamish.
I miss it.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad we could be here to exercise the demon that is Glee from your heart.
Thank you.
Derek, I truly have no idea what you're about to say. What is your history with the TV program Glee?
I mean, I remember when it came out and it was obviously very popular. It was harder to avoid it. So I caught some of it. I didn't hate it. when I watched like some of the first season episodes, but I don't know. I love musicals, and like I did a lot of theater stuff, in high school, and I love high school drama. So like you'd think it would be like in my zone, and it just wasn't really. And like my mom and my sister really liked it, oddly enough. But I never really got into it. And then I think I would just hear more and more that people just sort of complaining about it as it went along. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then never really engaged with it, honestly. I have a lot of feelings about Ryan Murphy as a creator, because I've engaged with many of his things, and have some strong feelings, and opinions that I guess we can get into when we maybe talk a little bit more about him. But for this show in particular, I don't have any hate towards it. I just think it's like very much not for me. I think if I have a big, grand universal take on Glee, is like one of the beefs that I think I kind of have with it is that I love the concept of like centering a TV show on like arts kids as underdogs in a public school environment. I think that's a genius concept. I think there's so many places you can go for drama and comedy with that. I think my problem anytime I ever watch any episode of it is that it's like, I don't know, man. I went to like a small high school and a small college where the arts were underfunded and not respected, and we were in the middle of nowhere, so we got like no respect for any of that kind of stuff. And we all were really underdogs. And I watched this, and I'm like, these just feel like insufferable rich theater kids at an art school in New York or LA. And I know that they're telling me they're like Ohio or whatever, and they're telling me that they're underdogs, and they're telling me like, I know it's a big, huge deal that you'd ever be able to go out somewhere and make it big. And I'm like, no, you're like right next door to fucking Hollywood or Broadway or whatever. Obviously, like I know that you say you aren't, but you are. Yeah. And that was always the vibe that I got, and that always kind of bothered me about it. So I think that kind of put me off too, because I'm like a lot of Ryan Murphy stuff, it's like a great concept, but I feel like you take the easiest possible route,
genuinely,
for doing this stuff, So I don't know, never really worked for me.
That is totally fair, Derek, and I don't think you're alone in a lot of the critique that you've labeled. In fact, it's critique that like Popular that Murphy started with also earned, which was like, I'm supposed to believe that these are the uncool kids at this school, like they're fucking gorgeous.
Yeah. And I mean, like, to be fair, like that's a thing that every high school TV show ever made is like that. They're all the most beautiful people on earth. I get that, but like the entire point of this show is like the arts kids are underdogs, and I don't ever feel like that anytime I ever watch a single episode of this. So
yeah, this is the least popular club in school, and yet we've got like a 7-piece band that is always there at a moment's notice, which is fine. Like it's funny.
The show also forgets it repeatedly because it's the loser team in school, but in their group is like the star quarterback, all the cheerleaders are part of the team. They win national trophies, they perform at prom, they win prom king and queen all the time. They're always running for school president and winning. It's main character problem syndrome, where like they're meant to be losers. It reminds me a lot of like Bulk and Skull, because they are the bullies, but they're bullying like these athletic, gorgeous teens who.
Right.
So every few seasons they'll introduce like a new bully, but inevitably in 5 episodes time they're getting like solos and singing Joni Mitchell in the choir room with them, and then they have to just invent some new bullies.
Yes.
And and then every member of, not to spoil the whole series, but basically every person who attends this Glee club becomes like world famous. So it's just like it gets better era, which is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that like putting it in that era does, I think, clarify it a little bit, and it's like I understand why it's in that direction. It feels, this is such a ridiculous comparison to make, but it kind of feels like the way, like what this was for like queer people in the late 2000s, where it's like time capsule was good for its time, but like maybe doesn't age great. I feel like it's like what Will and Grace was for the 90s, because it's like still, it's a thing where it's like you look back on it, sort of like a lot happened in there, but at the time it was still very important, and like it got like straight people to watch it. It got like your conservative mom to watch it and enjoy it and think like, oh, maybe the gay people aren't demonic, even if I don't agree with their lifestyle. Like the little bits of progression like that they're sort of responsible for. It kind of feels in that sort of same zone, even if they're obviously deeply flawed.
Derek, you're exactly right. There are things that people said to Chris Golfer when he either won awards or would be on tour that are exact things that Eric McCormick also heard when playing Will of Will and Grace. They are identical comments of a community so hungry to see themselves that they were very excited for that representation. I think Glee doesn't exist without Will and Grace.
Sure.
I think the problems from Will and Grace are just amplified by Glee.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, fucking, what's his name? Mike O'Malley, who plays Kurt's dad, won an MTV award of Best Parent for being like cool about his son being gay because the youth wanted to celebrate that a parent could do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he's hot. I mean, there's also
It's one of these uncomfortable things. Like, I remember at the time being asked if I was like, are you a Kurt or a Blaine? And I was like, I don't know what that means. They're both in musical theater and wear bow ties. Like, they're the same person. I don't know what you mean. But, you know, it's just for good or ill. It reminds me a little bit of like the gays in Modern Family as well, where like, I don't know many actual queer people that like, you know, have posters of them on their wall and love them, but they're kind of useful as a sort of, a parent or someone has heard there's gays in the family and they watch Modern Family or Glee and realize that they're not demons. I don't know if that helped too much. I think another weird thing about Glee is that Ryan Murphy has I know he's not actually the writer of like every episode or anything, but the kind of tone of these shows is he loves insult humor and clapbacks and so much of the humor is nasty comments, and so much of the humor throughout the show is just racism or homophobia or anti-Semitism and all any kind of ism, but like said in a kind of sassy way. And sometimes it's kind of funny because the performers are all pretty much great. But then at the same time, the show is meant to be like, we are all each other's friends and we're all like got each other's backs and this is a place where you can just be yourself. But yeah, it's messy. That's me putting it lightly.
Very messy.
David, what about you?
Wow, I didn't think that this would be happening, but here I am, the biggest fan of Glee on the line. I'm not going to defend it. I mean, Hamish spoke true. Like the Glee Reddit requires you to like sign a pledge that you sort of hate the show. Like this is not universally beloved. It's not universally protected and defended, but like this was very important when it was on. And I do believe in May, you know, I caught the pilot because it came on after American Idol and we were watching American Idol. And I think the pilot might be one of the best pilots on television that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that it is perfect at introducing points of conflict, giving you a sense of who the characters are, and then it tells a really fun 13-episode story, and then it is off the rails, and it only goes further off the rails the longer it is on the air, to the point that it is unwatchable when Sarah Jessica Parker shows up as Rachel Berry's boss. Just some unhinged things start happening.
David, it's so funny that you bring that up because I was talking to my boyfriend the other day about having going to record this, and I was like, did you ever like fuck with Glee or whatever? And he's like, the only one that I've seen is the one that Sarah Jessica Parker was in, and it's like really, really awful. And that's my whole experience with it. It's so, is that like a really, really well-known bad one or something?
She's in a full season. And she is, I suppose, mostly infamous for taking part in a mashup of Let's Have a Kiki by Scissor Sisters and Turkey Lurkey Time.
That's because it's a Thanksgiving one or something, right? Yes. That's what he was referencing. Okay, I think I need to watch that specifically because it sounds horrible in a way that I might actually enjoy more than this episode.
Yeah, I think the primary problem with it is that we've just forgotten how cameras work, and there are so many cuts in Let's Have a Kiki Turkey Lurkey Time that it is almost unwatchable because of how chaotic it is. It's not just the idea of putting a Scissor Sisters song with Turkey Lurkey, which I guess is kind of fun on a camp level. It is a much different type of visual editing that I have ever been exposed to outside of like cuts are my favorite thing and please date me because I'm in film school, David. And that I think is part of what stands out. I mean, you should watch it, Derek, but you might get like nauseous from watching it.
Sounds great.
So, I don't know. it was a big thing in the family. We did own all of these soundtracks. They did accompany us on an entire 12-hour road trip to Michigan, where all we listened to was the Glee cast. I'm not proud of this. I'm not particularly happy about it, but they picked bangers. They are good performers. I understand why a lot of the things happened. Looking back on it, it's sort of a miracle. I have rewatched the series not as recently as Hamish, and it becomes a death march at a certain point of time, because the fun magicalness of the storytelling gets abandoned, and it's just kind of a slog through certain points. I mean, yeah, like Sue Sylvester at one point in time traps Kurt and Blaine in a saw trap, and there's like a Billy the Puppet of Sue Sylvester. That fucking rocks.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's an oasis in a desert of terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the final season wins some points for me because it has a kind of, near death delirium that some shows get, but I kind of appreciate. I can't necessarily say it's good. I actually kind of have a hotter take, which is I think this is the first show to jump the shark in the pilot.
Interesting.
I love the pilot. I agree with you. It is perfect, like pretty much. But the pilot is also quite surreal if you watch it after watching later episodes, because it's the only episode that seems to want to do any kind of grounded storytelling about what it would be like to be in show choir.
Yes.
So they are recording people's like live vocals. They're messing up. There's a scene of them actually rehearsing a number, which you basically never see again, or like people trying to practice their vocals. And even though there's like a season's worth of plot in the pilot, it then ends with the Don't Stop Believing musical number. And that's the first time the show goes from sort of, we exist in the real world, to we all know the choreography. We all have perfect vocals. It's all whatever. I'm not saying that's truly like properly jumping the shark, because that is like the show beginning for a lot of people. But I kind of think it's when the show, like that was such a massive hit single for them. It made so much money that 2 episodes later, they're like doing just full on Rihanna music videos in the like school hallway, and that's fine. That's what the show is now. But I always kind of mourn a little bit like what would have been the like actual show, because I'm sure you're going to go into some of the history of it, but it's based on the creator's experience. It was originally like a film script and things like that, and like there's a version of it, like I don't know if you've seen the film Theatre Camp. It's a mockumentary from a couple of years ago. If for whatever reason you like detest Ben Platt because of the whole Dear Evan Hansen thing, I genuinely think Theatre Camp is his like apology tour. It's such like a funny film, and he's really funny in it. And that to me is that's kind of what Glee could have been if it was a bit more grounded and a bit less, we got to pump out 10 singles an episode because we made so much money with Don't Stop Believing. So it's a fun watch. I'm definitely going to do it a few more times in my life, like binge it all, because it's a part of me now. And I've seen the sentiment shared on the internet that people are generally quite happy that it ended when it did, rather than like, oh, I wish it could have gone on for 10 more years or whatever. They very quickly, I guess, to just quickly summarize to anyone, like we're in season 3 for this episode, and the show has basically realized that some of its cast need to like graduate because they're in high school, and they make very baffling choices at this crossroads where they just randomly select half the cast to be like seniors, half the cast to be juniors, and then but instead of just getting rid of them, we just keep following them in their adult life. And then we're cutting between the two, and it just becomes mess. And no, I still don't know kind of what they should have done. But yeah, I think for a lot of people, a bit like Buffy, but Buffy stayed good. But like a lot of people feel like once high school's over, like what is the show anymore?
Right.
Sure.
Well, it took Buffy a little while to answer that question. Glee doesn't have the luxury of that, because this is like ka-ching town for Fox. And we're gonna end up talking a little bit about that, Hamish. So, but thank you for doing some table setting for us about here in season 3. I will share, I picked this episode because I wanted to talk about season 3. There are other gimmick episodes we could cover throughout the entire run of Glee, but I think season 3 is the most culturally important thing for us to talk about because it is when the dynamics of what this show was changed and it became so much more about the money. Hamish talked about the Rihanna music video in the hallway. To me, that's peak because that's just fucking popular with music.
Yeah.
I love some stupid fantasy stuff going on, but here in season 3, someone has to be blocked to go over and push play on a boombox in order for them to start singing. And that is dynamically different for what this show is than it used to be, which is like you can just burst into song. Just start singing. And now it always has to have something like, oh, why is there music right now? Oh, let me answer that question. And it's a different vibe altogether.
Well, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the episode straight away, but I agree in the sense that I was so thrown by watching this episode because so few of the songs have any meaning to any of the characters.
Yes.
They just happen. And it's what people who hate musicals hate about musicals. Whereas even the jukebox stuff in the earlier seasons, we kept we mentioned this Rihanna song. It's just that a few episodes in, Rachel sings
Take a bow.
It's because she's being like broken up with and she's jealous and stuff. Like these people sort of complain that these characters like are always breaking up with each other and always cheating on each other. It's because that's what most songs are about. So they have to sing about something. So but that's what it is. It's the musical rules. They like have to sing. In this, it's just a Christmas episode, so they just sing Christmas songs whenever they want. And it's really weird.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how the series got created, and then we'll talk a little bit about how the music sort of was a big part of the DNA of this and how this episode got created. So this one is created by Ryan Murphy, Brad Falchuk, and Ian Brennan. All 3 of these folks wrote all of the episodes of the first 2 seasons, and they will go on to co-create Scream Queens, The Politician, and The Watcher. But to dive into a couple of these folks individually, Hamish already teed this up, but Ian Brennan is the one who has the concept of the original idea based on his time in a high school show choir, and he pens a film in 2005 based on the idea, and nobody's interested in it. Brennan is friends with producer Mike Novick, who goes to the same gym as Ryan Murphy, but they're not close acquaintances. Novick goes over to talk to Murphy, and Murphy thinks that he's flirting with him.
This is the most like gay man thing I've ever heard. You go to the same gym and then like meet up there and then think you're getting flirted on. That's Jesus Christ. Okay. Sorry, go on.
So per Murphy himself, that's the only reason he even like entertained listening. Cause people bring you pitches all the time. He wasn't interested. He was working out, but he thought he was being on. So he was listening. And he was then happy because he too was in show choir, and he then connected with Brennan. And that's how Brennan gets looped into all this, because Fulchuk and Murphy were already together.
I definitely can relate with the idea of like connecting with bears on social media just because of like looking like of how you look, and then being like, okay, now are you going to like listen to the podcasts that I make and engage with the work that I do now as well, like in addition to liking my selfies.
And this is how Glitterjaw was born.
Honestly, though,
Not
kinda.
Not wrong. All right, I already mentioned it, but Brad Falchuk was a genre writer, and he joined the FX show Nip Tuck in the first season, and he bonds instantly with Ryan Murphy. Together, they write a pilot for a series called Pretty/Handsome about a transgender gynecologist for FX, but it was not picked up as a series.
That might have been a bullet dodged.
That's
2004, 5.
That's what I'm thinking, but
Ryan Murphy,
who's
trans
to say?
drama.
Listen, I you know what? I looked at the spec of it, and it didn't seem offensive on spec, but all I was reading was like a 1-paragraph write-up of what was sold to, or what was pitched to FX to be sold. Fulchuk works very closely with Murphy on American Horror Story, Scream Queens, and then he's in that 911 world. So Fulchuk like will never be separated from 911 Fulchuk. After her guest appearance on Glee in 2010 introduces them, Fulchuk begins dating and eventually marries Gwyneth Paltrow. So a show romance come to life, Hamish.
That's wild.
Some people like her character. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is maybe the worst actor on Glee. Well, she has the worst, in my opinion, worst character. She is a substitute manic pixie dream teacher, and every line of dialogue is trying to be like a Tumblr gif, and it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Although there's an episode where she comes in as like a kind of drunken Mary Todd Lincoln and looks exactly like Cola Scola's Oh Mary. So I do wonder if
Oh my god, that's so funny.
she sort of generated that. But and she's in a lot of episodes. She gets more solos than some of the Glee cast.
She has one of the highest selling solos. I'll get to that when I talk music.
Okay, sorry.
No,
I'm so excited.
You're perfect. You're perfect, Hamish. What
Is Gwyneth Paltrow a good singer? She seems like someone who wouldn't be a good singer.
So there's a lot of auto tuning in the show.
Oh, really? Oh, I couldn't tell.
Even people who are good performers get auto tuned, so it's a little hard for me to parse it because
Yeah, it's true. You can't tell.
and
I gotcha.
Gwyneth's a guest star, and she is this sort of, as Hamish said, a manic substitute teacher. And so I don't know if I'm kind of like, is this a good performance, or am I kind of like just happy that there's like an adult on screen?
I kept
Sure.
filming my screen when her scenes were on to like, there's just so many bizarre line deliveries. And I'm not like a Gwyneth hater. Like,
Oh.
she's so weird. It's the exact same energy of her like out of character like interviews when she's being asked questions about like Spider-Man and stuff, and she's like, I
Yeah.
wasn't in that one. And you're like, you were.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wow, I wish you well, Hamish. Now we are in to the main event. It's Ryan Murphy. There's so much to say about Ryan Murphy, but let me do his history first. Let me do the non-denominational, and then I think we all have things to say.
Non-denominational. Okay.
He started as an entertainment journalist before moving into screenwriting, but in the late 1990s, he co-created the WB teen drama Popular. It's canceled after 2 seasons. Murphy says it's because his executive producer, or the executives at the WB, were homophobic. In many ways, Popular is proto-Glee. It is Glee without music, because it is all these absurdist shots of teenagers who are struggling with a lot of things the Glee teens will go on to struggle with. Then Murphy creates Nip Tuck for FX, which opens like all sorts of doors for him. He has a couple projects that don't turn out, and then there's Glee. From Glee, he is a powerhouse. American Horror Stories, The People vs. American Horror Story, the anthology series, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, Pose, which was a pioneering show for trans actors in trans roles, and The Writer's Room and Crew as well. And then some sort of like mid to bad series that he makes out of his Netflix deal, The Politician, Ratchet, and Hollywood. Then he is the 911 creator, which is a massive series that have spun off 2 shows, 911 Lone Star and 911 Nashville. So now let's talk Murphy.
Okay, I have one quick question really quick with
Yeah.
911. Is he like heavily involved in that, or is it more a case where he sort of created it and then let other people take the reins?
You have stumbled into our first instance of Ryan Murphy saying different things than other people say. Ryan Murphy says he's very involved with it. Tim Minear is probably the actual one who is involved with it.
Okay. That was the only question that I had. Y'all can talk about it.
Well,
Opinions.
he has a reputation for like, I think, setting shows going, maybe not being hyper involved. Yesterday I watched his new Hulu show, All's Fair, which
Did you? With Kim Kardashian.
starring Kim Kardashian in a
What the fuck?
she's the lead of a procedural now.
Naomi Watts is in this?
Kim
What-
Kardashian, Naomi Watts,
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close, Sarah
Who
Paulson, who is contractually
Well-
obligated to be in every Ryan Murphy project. Although she's not in this,
Yeah.
she would have been hilarious. It's the reason I watched it is that it's received in the British press multiple 0-star reviews, including many newspapers' first ever 0-star reviews. And of course I watched it. It's not just bad, like it's not a show. It's it's shots of women walking out of cars to music with the occasional, like Naomi Watts and Sarah Paulson can act and they are acting, but they are not saying dialogue that makes any sense. Like the first minute of the show is a music video introducing all the anyway, we're not talking about All's Fair, but
That's just fascinating though, because I didn't even know this existed.
I think of Ryan Murphy a bit like Prince,
Okay.
where he's so prolific And he's done some stuff that is clearly the work of a genius. But because he's so prolific, like Prince would release multiple albums a year. And when you get like a best of Prince collection, it's like 1% of the songs he released.
Yes.
And with Ryan Murphy, it's like, if you were to put every episode of television that he like made into a big pot and try to find a good one, it would take like the universe would die from heat death trying to find one.
Yes.
But the ones that are good are really, really good. And he's like kind of deserves the success. And in terms of representation, absolutely.
Complicated, but yeah.
Yeah, but like he's always, well, I guess a lot of the time tries to put queer people at the center of storylines in a way that possibly was less common, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
The episode of Glee we watched today was very flippant about it, but like the first 2 seasons have really good stuff for Kurt to do. And I think also the kind of more we find out about Ryan Murphy, he's not like kind of, I don't think he's like, you know, cancelable maybe, but he's like a lot of people you hear about who just seems like a bit of a nightmare to work with.
Yes.
And the people who end up, you know, working well with him are either people who can really compartmentalize or are also nightmares. So
Sure.
he's just sort of an interesting figure, and I will always kind of be interested in whatever new thing he's doing. That's why I watched All's Fair, because I like a little checking in with old Ryan. And you know, some of the stuff I've really, really loved, like authentically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I'm always curious because again, like American Horror Story at the time seemed like such a bizarre departure, but it is a sort of mixture between Nip Tuck and Glee in some ways, and he has a sensibility that is carried through even if the genres kind of shift about.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like I think the thing that's frustrating about Ryan Murphy is that like if he was a hack, it would be easier to just be like, this guy sucks and he's just a gay we don't claim. But he obviously isn't, like, and because even on shows that I think are not ones that I like or that I think you could argue are bad, like there's always like he is really good at creating things that are really engaging, at least initially, and are like high energy and something that you can get obsessed over even if you hate them, you know. Like I think he does have a unique ability of everything that he makes is watchable in some way, even if it's hate watching it. And I do think that does take a lot of talent of creating things that are genuinely entertaining all the time. And I think to your point, Hamish, like a lot of stuff that he's done has like been objectively good, and I think has like employed people who otherwise weren't getting roles at the time or weren't getting jobs at the time. Like he has done like important and positive things in this industry, which then makes it really frustrating when all his stuff also sometimes can be really bad or really damaging to those things as well. And like my problem with him a lot of times is that like I'll like what he's doing initially, but then it ends up just being very first draft. Like a lot of what it feels like, where it's just like, you had a good idea and then just went with like the easiest possible route, or just like had one thought, threw it on the page, made it, even whether it makes sense or not. And like that can be fun, but that's like everything that he makes. And that gets a little bit frustrating for me sometimes watching his stuff. And it's hard to stick with some of his things through the end. Like there will be scenes of American Horror Story where it's like, this starts out really great and feels really innovative and then just falls apart by the end. And I feel like that's a story of a lot of the stuff that he makes.
Yep.
And like for me, this is my absurd Derek take for this is that like Roberto Aguirre Sacasa is what Ryan Murphy could be if he was good, and Riverdale is the show that like Ryan Murphy wishes he could make, because all the things that I would praise Ryan Murphy for in many of the things like Glee and American Horror Story, in, you know, being like, it's sort of like being able to just have fun with the medium of television, throw a bunch of wild stuff in there and throw a lot of your own personal tastes in there for like musical theater and for weird genre blending and genre shifts, and not necessarily trying to make like stories that are like rational so much as like making fun, engaging narratives, even if those stories are sort of off the wall, and the ability to like lean into going off the rails and then maybe steer back to being on the rails again. That's all stuff that like, that's all the shit that I love about fucking Riverdale. And also Riverdale does a jukebox musical like fantastically well. But I think that because Riverdale and its ilk were like not, I think because Riverdale was like on the fucking CW and people treat the CW like it's just like the place where garbage goes, even though, you know, its origins were WB and UPN, where some of the greatest TV shows ever made were created. I don't really understand people look down on the CW so much, but I think because that sort of started there and it started with Archie Comics, that I think people never really gave it the same respect as they would a Ryan Murphy thing, even though I do think a lot of the queer stuff that Roberto Aguirre Sacasa's stuff has done as well. But Ryan Murphy has the like the white gay Hollywood connections with like Lady Gaga and shit, and can like get your big celebrities in his shows and gets the attention. And I don't know. I think that frustrates me a little bit too, because that's just like one example. But I guess like there's like limited space, I think, for like queer creators to have the type of like mainstream success that Ryan Murphy has. And I do feel like there's a lot of other things that kind of don't get the same space because he's taking up so much of that space and not always being very good at it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Absolutely. I get very frustrated sometimes when queer media actually just means like rich Californian media,
right?
And I have no connection to it whatsoever. And you're right, like I think a lot of places, potentially like, you know, Netflix that had a deal with him, would be saying like, well, we already have a Ryan Murphy deal, we've got that box ticked for like queer content, even if it's like Ed Gein or whatever. And it's like, you know, I think it's a love hate, but love small letter, big hate maybe.
Yeah. I also just had to get my Riverdale reference in for the episode.
Riverdale is 100% dark Glee, and
Glee.
I love it too. I mean, Glee never goes full like superpowers and time travel and parallel universes and all that stuff. It would have if it got a seventh season, I think.
But I think Riverdale always would have done it better. Honestly, you know, like, and it would also comes from a place of like love for the medium and for genres. And I feel like some of Ryan Murphy's stuff, like it comes more from just like, I don't know, let's just do it rather than like a love for it. You know what I mean? I don't know how to define that. Hey, Derek from the future, just interjecting here really quickly. I realized after we recorded that I never actually mentioned one key thing about Roberto, and like the reason that we were kind of bringing him up is that he did work on Glee like for a few years. Like he wrote some episodes, he was a producer on it. He even wrote like an Archie meets Glee comic, which is information that I knew but neglected to actually say. And that was the reason that my brain was making that comparison to him between him and Ryan Murphy in the first place, is that they were in the same vicinity working on the same project. And I'm sure that one of the reasons he was able to get Riverdale off the ground was because he did work on Glee initially. I don't hold that against him. I can't speak to the episodes of Glee that he wrote, and he probably holds no ill will towards Ryan Murphy or Glee or anything, I imagine. But I do think that the lessons he learned from Glee, he took and made them better on Riverdale. Again, a reason why I brought it up. But just wanted to prevent anyone from writing in. I did know that bit of information, just forgot to mention it because, you know, we were really on one when we were recorded and we're moving on. So back to the episode.
Well, this is a creator that doesn't have an exit plan. This is a real, like truly honest. I mean, I've even thought like, oh, could we do some 911 shit on here? Because there are some big swings for season openers, and I think that's a fun gimmick. But like B-NATO is the biggest letdown that I've ever watched. The thing that has built up to me because I saw so many advertisements for it, and there's a tornado and there's a couple bees in it. Everybody calm down. Like this was like, and then the second episode, which is supposed to follow up the plot, like the bees are gone. It's just done. And that's so much of his thing. And I think it all started here, and maybe it's trauma from Popular, of having this like, this season be canceled on a cliffhanger about Leslie Bibb getting hit by a car. Like maybe this is about like, I'm never going to like try to plan something because what if I get canceled again?
Like mid season 1 of Glee, they wrap up every character's will they, won't they?
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. And then they spend the rest of the show spinning their wheels and characters have it, like every single character has dated every single other character.
That's why there's so many bisexuals, Derek, because we needed to pair more people up.
Next week, deck the halls.
All I want for Christmas is you.
Oh, all I want is you too. And 5 things on that list.
Make a list.
Wheels, porcelain, young Burt Reynolds.
Spread some cheer.
A Christmas special featuring all of us? Okay.
Yes, Rachel, your Glee Club's in an all-new holiday special.
We're on television.
Oh, television. Hello.
Best Christmas.
Well, I think the other reason you weren't going to get big and wild swings from this series, the thing that I think would have actually stopped them from doing Time Travel was because this became so much more about the music that was created as part of the series than what the series was itself. And so I won't spend a terrible amount of time on this, but when the show started, especially for its pilot and its first 13 episodes, it was sort of like business as usual. We wanted songs. We would reach out to people to try to get them. We'd try to get it at a discount. It was sort of business as completely usual for Fox. There's a lot of false memory about this, like Rihanna being like, yes, I paid them to run my song because I needed more sales of it. That never happened. I don't know where this interview is coming from. It's not real. Very, very normal first 13 episodes. And then Glee gets really big during its break between the first half of the season 1 and the second half of season 1. And coincidentally, this is when iTunes has moved to DRM free music and music purchasing is at its height to buy singles. And some of the most popular songs that are being bought are the Glee cast covers of things like Don't Stop Believing, Take a Bow, things like that. They are skyrocketing. And when they sell for the Glee cast, what performing artists are seeing is their original songs are also going through the roof. And so there becomes this economy to try to get your song featured on Glee, to the point that recording artists do start to like essentially say, we'll pay you to put our song on your playlist because it's making such a big deal.
Wild.
Yeah. So I told you we listened to a lot of these, but I think that there's a heavy cost to doing more and more and more and more songs every episode. This turns into 16 to 20 hour days for the crew, preparing arrangements, doing choreography and recording with the cast. That's not even filming a series. That's just the music part of all of this, which they'll then lip sync during the actual takes. But it does pay off for Fox. Of the 754 musical performances, 207 of them made it to the Billboard Top 100, and 2 songs reached #1 in digital song sales: Teenage Dream by Darren Criss and Forget You by Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes, I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah. You get the real sense as the show goes on that like characters are breaking up and things because some executive has decided that like Santana needs to sing Jolene in this episode or whatever. She doesn't. But it's just like, you know, these things are being decided and then the script is being written to like accommodate that.
Yes. Yeah. And that makes sense.
It seems like a horrible way to have to write a TV show.
And yet, if you're a suit, it seems like a great way to write a TV show because from season 2 onward, the sales from music outpace the sales from ad revenue. It is the major revenue generator for the show.
Wow, that's wild.
Am I wrong in thinking that they also almost shot the show and released it like South Park, where the, you know, episodes would be being
very
filmed
tight.
and
Very
then
tight.
on TV a week or two later? Because there was episodes featuring like current chart hits and like they did like a Whitney Houston episode like a few weeks after she died and stuff like that.
Very fast turnaround, and we'd get to the point where music was even being released as covers by the Glee cast before it was released by the original artist. Like Bruno Mars's Marry You was released first as a Glee cast cover.
Wow.
Yeah. By season 3, exactly what you're describing, the music revenue is the primary driver of all decisions about the show. Coincidentally, that is when the ratings for the show start to diminish, but the sales of the music do not diminish over the next 2 years.
It also feel I couldn't you know, this is the second Christmas special, I think.
That's correct. Yes.
And it feels so much like, which Christmas songs did we not do last year? We need to make another Christmas album. Because some of it's like, oh, I guess they didn't do like All I Want for Christmas Is You. That's kind of shocking. And then there's like a bunch of more like lesser known thing. It's a mess.
Right.
Yep. not that there was any reason that we needed to come back to the Murphy talk, but I found this in my music research. Murphy would respond publicly if an artist rejected his interest in them being featured on the show. Of Kings of Leon rejecting his request, Murphy said that they were making fun of Glee and hating on arts education by rejecting our request, and called them self-centered assholes on record.
Oh, shut up. Come on.
He also called Slash of Guns N' Roses uneducated and quite stupid for not allowing them to include their music.
Whatever. That's so annoying. It's like messy gay drama bullshit.
Thank you.
Come on, man.
Kings of Leon also responded and were like, we didn't even get this request, dude. Calm down.
I believe Chris Martin from Coldplay also like said, I don't want my music in the show for season 1, and then his wife Gwyneth Paltrow was in season 2.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, actually Coldplay can be in it, and then she ends up with the creator of Glee.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like,
That's bananas.
Yeah.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then relevant to this episode, but to this day, the Glee covers of holiday songs continue to be licensed for Hallmark Christmas film promotions because they're cheaper than other versions of the songs.
What the fuck? That's so weird.
I have one story, little anecdote about creators of music and their relationship to Glee. I went many years ago to an audience with Richard O'Brien from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
And it was just him being interviewed, and at the end he sang Time Warp. But during the interview they said, what did you think of the Glee Rocky Horror episode that they did? And he truly did not know it existed.
Oh.
And I watched Richard O'Brien being shown the Glee performance of Sweet Transvestite, where they censor a bunch of the lyrics, which, to be fair, is a kind of plot point in the episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was sort of watching his old heart crumble into nothingness. And then he literally was just like, turn it off, I'm fine. Anyway, so that's a Fox movie, so I'm sure but like the idea of it, sometimes they didn't even know that like their songs were being, if Fox owned any of the music in any way, they probably didn't even know that it was happening. And I'm sure for a lot of people it's just sales went up for them and it was great and they were happy. But
the Fox of it even gets more insidious, because sometimes Fox would just do a blanket and they'd sell it under, we'd like to feature you on American Idol. And then they would just sort of get it for some other programs that were bundled into it. And a few artists felt like they were deceived by that.
Wow.
But it worked out for them, so I don't think it was a problem. But
Oof.
yeah.
Ready to talk about this episode? So
wow, let's do it.
Season 3, episode 9, entitled Extraordinary Merry Christmas, is what we're covering today. The original air date for this one was December 13th, 2011. The synopsis for IMDb is, when the Glee Club is asked to perform at 2 different events on the same day at the same time, they have a difficult decision to make. That really positions it to be a completely different plot from what this episode actually is.
They all make their decision very easily, don't they?
Oh yeah.
They really do. They really do. This is shocking to me. This episode was written by Marty Noxon. What the fuck, man? We haven't like really talked about her. We mentioned her briefly for our Buffy Hush episode, because she was one of the team of writers who became producers on Buffy around that time, and obviously was very hugely important for Buffy. And she also wrote the theme song for the in-universe show Cordy in the Angel episode Birthday that we covered a couple of years ago as well. So so she's come up, and that's, I think, the thing she would be known best for is for her Buffyverse contributions. She basically was the showrunner for the last couple of seasons of Buffy. So I love her. She's done a lot of other stuff. We mentioned her very briefly because she was the EP for Point Pleasant, the show that replaced True Calling, the evil show that should have never existed because they canceled our show that we love. But it's okay. Everyone, everyone has their flaws, including writing this episode of Glee, I think, as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. I never realized that she worked on Glee at all. She joined the writing staff this season, wrote 2 episodes, this one and the episode Choke. I don't know what episode that is.
Choke is where Rachel goes to perform for her like new college and she can't sing.
It's the episode of Pleak, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which apparently is based on something that really happened at Glee Live. And Ryan, another weird thing, just quickly, is that he would basically put in stuff from the actors' real lives into the show and make them relive trauma.
Yes. Yes.
So-
Anything that happens to Kurt is a story that Chris Colfer like was telling his like gay mentor, and then his gay mentor turned around and was like, "This would make a really good episode of television."
Oh my God, that you have to perform
Yeah.
in. That's bananas.
Yeah.
Wow.
Choke,
Okay.
Choke, I will say, is actually a well-written episode of television.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 'cause
Marty
Marty
Noxon
Noxon
is a good writer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before-
I don't know that I blame this episode on her. I think she did what she was asked to do, which was not much.
Agreed. I think, though, you could put some fault at the hands of the director, which is Matthew Morrison. Matthew Morrison, who plays Will Schuester on the series, is the director of this episode. This is his directing debut and only credit as a director.
That
Wonder why.
explains why he doesn't show up until 8 minutes in and then is basically absent for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. And probably absent from the director's chair.
Yeah.
If I
Wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He, I think, probably learned from this that direction was not like his thing, which is fine. Good for him.
I mean, this feels like a hard one to be your directorial debut, though, too.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. It's kind of an odd. Yeah.
Honestly,
We'll talk about it.
Derek,
I wonder-
we don't really get people doing their directorial debut on this podcast because, like, to do a weird episode kind of means that you
Right.
need, like, some background in something.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
they couldn't find a way to put him into the plot. And so they were like, why don't you just sit over here and like
Direct.
push the camera and play? Like, because like the like little holiday special they make at the end, it's like, well, you're not going to be in half this episode. Why don't you just direct it and tell the
Yeah.
kids what to do?
It could be. I don't have a source for this, but I remember when I was just like casually reading about this one earlier today. I think it was a thing where like he was slated for episode 8 of this season was going to be his debut, and then for whatever reason he got pushed to this one. So it's also possible that it's like an accident that he ended up on this. Like
That
it might have just been
sucks.
some other scheduling snafu, and maybe I don't know. Like so it might not have been intentional that he's on this weird episode, and then they just ended up having to like write it a little bit, write his absence around it or something.
Yeah.
I also never want to give the cast too much crap because, as we said about the shooting schedule, like directing an episode while also having to like rehearse like lines, music, record music, go on tour, do all kinds of crazy stuff. So,
Yeah, totally.
Okay, we have a huge cast. We're not going to do the whole cast. I will just say that for everyone that we will talk about and everyone who we will not talk about, they have all been on some sort of Broadway or national tour. They are all theater folks. And without exception, every single one of these people has appeared as themselves. And for many of them, that's their main credit from now on. They're doing the like match game thing where they're just them on game shows and shit.
Sure.
So, Hamish, is there anyone from this cast that really sticks out for you that you want to make sure that we talk about? And then I think I've got a couple of highlights that I want to get to, and I'm curious if Derek has any as well.
I mean, it's there's one character I do want to talk about who is oddly a kind of lead of this episode, but this is a very rare example of him being a lead. But he feels like a weird character to start with.
No, start
okay,
there.
I
Let's
want
do
to
it.
just briefly talk about the character of Rory, because if this is the only Glee episode you're watching, you might think he's a main character. But this is a character who won a competition to be in the show, the actor. He is in like 7 or something episodes and is written out without any acknowledgement that he'd ever been there, and then shows up for the next Christmas special as a ghost, and then is only referenced from now on as like, remember that Irish kid that used to be here? What happened to him? Oh, he got deported. It's like he's a nonsense. Barely his introduction. So okay, I need to. Sorry. Okay.
Yep, bring it, Hamish, bring
Okay.
it. Bring it.
The character of Rory is not a main character in Glee. He is a main character.
That did shock me, being someone who doesn't watch much of this show. Watching the episode, I'm like, oh, he must have been someone that joined the cast as a main character this season or something.
So
wow, okay.
He is and he isn't. So I'm going to try and be lightning fast with this. I'm sure David has a bunch of notes. But when production realized that half the cast were going to have to graduate and they needed to get new talent, they created a reality TV show called The Glee Project, which was basically drag. I'm not even gonna say American Idol because it was very like cheap.
It was Drag Race.
It was basically Drag
Do
Race.
remember this?
Yeah.
For theatre kids. The winner got a 7-episode arc, which is a very generous way of calling what happens to them, on Glee.
The phenomenon that had critics singing and changed the lives of 4 people. With the biggest prize on television, a roll-on Glee is coming back. The Glee Project Season 2, coming this summer, only on Oxygen.
And season one is also, it's like another reason why people will feel weird about Ryan Murphy, because he's one of the judges and you see a really bizarre side to him where it's not a singing competition, it's not an acting competition, it's a inspiring Ryan Murphy to create a character in your TV show competition. So people are sometimes eliminated because like we already have a wheelchair character and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's an insane show, but the two and like the winners of all 3 winners, to spoil it, for the show are just, we need a new Finn. So they're all just like kind of pretty-ish straight white guys.
Cool.
Even though they have all kinds of diversity in the cast. I'm gonna mention Unique in a second. Don't worry, David.
Okay, bring it on.
Season 1 had 2 winners, and one of them was Damien McGinty, who plays Rory. He oddly does get more. I think the other winner doesn't even get any solos, but he does show up and is in more episodes technically. But basically, he shows up randomly in an episode called Pot of Gold. His first line of dialogue is "Top of the morning to ya," and his only character trait is that he's Irish.
Yep.
What's kind of funny is that his storyline is the like immigrant story, potentially like illegal immigrant story, and they are constantly referencing ICE and like him go back to Mexico and stuff, but he's Irish. Anyway,
The fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
keep
Derek.
going,
What the
please.
fuck?
the only other song I remember him singing is "It's Not Easy Being Green."
Why? Why? This feels illegal to me. Like this doesn't.
His first plotline is that Brittany believes that he's a leprechaun, and so he convinces Brittany that he is, and that he will sleep with her if he finds a pot of gold. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. He's no one's favorite character. He seems like a nice guy, and I've seen interviews of him now where he's like on Irish television being asked like, "You were on Glee." And he was like, "Yeah, don't watch it. I was fully just a performing monkey."
Yeah.
And the worst
Wow.
type of like Irish paddy whackery, like he doesn't have a character. He's just Irish.
Just Irish. Just
That's
Irish.
it. And for some bizarre reason, the first episode he's in, he's the kind of main-ish character, and this episode he's sort of pretty central. Although he doesn't really show up for the actual gimmick part.
No.
And yeah, he does just disappear as the show goes on. Like, they truly forget he exists.
It is. Oh, I feel like my brain is broken from all of that information.
I'm sorry, I had to just get that off my chest. I wasn't expecting a Rory episode.
I'm so glad though, because what the you said so many things, but I do think the one thing that I keep coming back to was like they're doing like an immigrant like deportation thing with this guy, and still it's still a white guy,
Yes.
like a white brunette guy on a show full of white brown-haired men. Like that also feels very Ryan Murphy, I guess. But like,
Yeah,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
bizarre. The show has a reputation for being diverse, but it basically isn't.
Correct.
It has some diversity, and it has some storylines you don't usually get. But one thing I was way more aware of when I did my recent binge was how terrible like Mercedes and Tina are written. The only plot lines Mercedes gets for 6 whole seasons is, "Why don't I ever get solos? I'm the best singer." And every other character saying like, "Don't worry, you will get your time to shine." And then she doesn't. She just doesn't. It's
Cool.
like, she gets some songs. She opens this episode, but again, it's not a character song. It's not a story song. It's nothing. It's just she can sing. Tina only gets one line of dialogue, which is funny, but it's like, anyway. Yes, the white characters are always... and I was just going to mention very, very briefly about the Glee project. Someone who didn't even win season 1 gets added to the show just because they're very talented and ends up being in the show for way longer and having way more of an impact because they're just a good actor, singer, everything.
Yeah.
And that's unique.
That's
played
unique.
by Alex Newell.
Alex Newell. Yep.
Is now a Tony winner and all kinds of stuff.
Fantastic. I mean,
Fascinating.
deserved the place, but they like, I mean, this is one of the things that Hamish brought up. Murphy at one point in time says like, well, you're really very much like Mercedes. And that's just not true. at its core. This is a person with a different identity, right?
It's bonkers.
So Hamish, you almost did everything I needed for the Glee project. There's a couple things that I want to add that will there's
more?
Oh, there's added flavor, Derek, because I need you to know what network that this ran on in the United States, and that is the Oxygen Network. This was not even a Fox show.
Wait, really? Okay, I guess that's why I didn't ever watch it then, because I remember this existing, but I was like, I had no idea what this was because it was on fucking Oxygen.
Yes.
How did that happen? It's so weird.
Yeah. Now Oxygen, of course, is called the Oxygen True Crime Network because that's all they air. And as Hamish mentioned, lots of people actually who were on the show would go on to appear because third place, fourth place, fifth place, and sixth place included appearances on the show as prizes / forced labor. There were people who said that they didn't want to continue. They dropped out of the show intentionally and still had to fulfill their contractual obligation to appear for 1 or 2 episodes as a character introduced and then immediately forgotten.
It's a very strange show. It's too uncomfortable as like a fun hate watch, actually, because I did try giving it a go, and it's watching like young actors being kind of having their hearts broken by Hollywood and like the kind of weird reality of adults talking about like there's multiple contestants who are like, I feel a bit uncomfortable doing a kissing scene for a competition show, and they're like, well, you're not going to make it. Do you think Leah Michelle can decide when she doesn't kiss people I tell her to? And you're like,
Jesus Christ,
weird.
Don't like that at all. Okay, here's the only thing that I'll give you on McGinty, because I did like looking into McGinty. First of all, he comes from a Irish singing group called Celtic Thunder, awesome, which he joined at 14, and he is part of an absolutely bonkers sales for that group. When he was part of the group, it was selling its most albums, I think just coincidentally, not because of McGinty. But like, I like a man who earns some money, so call me Damien McGinty. I will not make you be an Irish stereotype, especially because in 2019, he was the lead in a Christmas film alongside Glee co-star Heather Morris, who plays Brittany, John Rhys Davies, and Judd Nelson, called Santa Fake.
Wow.
I'm
good for him.
Happy to hear he's working.
I watched this. It's fantastic. It's
Wait, really?
Yeah. I mean,
no,
no, better than good, bad, but still bad and good. I can't believe at the end of it, I was happy that I watched it.
Is John Rhys Davies Santa in that? Because he would make a good Santa.
He was not Santa. No.
Well, fuck it. Why would I watch that? It sucks.
What's the point? Judd Nelson looking great today, though, let me tell you.
Okay, good to know. Okay,
Derek, anyone from the cast that you want to make sure we talk about, and then I'll highlight a few other folks that are important for our discussion.
Nobody that isn't. I will say that I get all of the white guys confused. I don't know who all of them are. The teacher and the Corey Monteith character, I can't tell them apart. And Darren Criss, I vaguely know him more.
Yeah,
but like I still forget what role he plays compared to other people. So like, that's where I'm at with this. So no, I don't.
Okay.
I know Jane Lynch. That's really, and then some other people. That's really about it.
Yeah.
All the famous ones. I know the famous ones.
Well, let's start with Kurt and Blaine, as they will later be called. Kurt is played by Chris Colfer. Blaine is played by Darren Criss. For Colfer, this is his breakout role. He originally auditioned for Artie. Many sources report that he auditioned for Finn. He absolutely did not audition to be a quarterback. Chris Colfer knows who he is. This is I don't know how this got reported, but that is also wrong. There's so much wrong in the history of Glee. Murphy was impressed. They, of course, did not cast him for Artie, but rewrote a role originally planned as Rajesh to be for Kurt, named after Kurt Von Trapp, who Colfer had said during his audition he played in The Sound of Music. So this was not even an original name from our man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Weird.
You probably do recognize Chris because he is a little bit more prophetic. Like, he's just
everywhere.
Yeah.
I've watched the Harry Potter musical
Okay.
back in the day. I love like Ron walking in with the giant chocolate bar. Like I was here for all that at the time. So I remember even at the time being like, oh shit, like the Potter musical guy is like on TV now. That's really cool.
This is incredible because I'd never heard about this until I did this research.
Wait, really? You've
Whoa.
never heard of it?
Genuinely, I live under
Dude,
a
that
hole,
thing
I
was
guess, because it's huge.
Huge,
It's
David. Are you
huge.
serious? I wasn't even a big like Harry Potter fan at the time, and I still watched that shit because it was funny.
Yes,
Like,
yes, and this is like
it's so funny.
like Harry Potter today, whatever. But like this was like the right time to have made a musical parody of Harry Potter. And he's from the University of Michigan. I follow people from the University of Michigan when they do like the most unknown things. I can't believe I didn't know about this.
That's
it is
really
wild.
weird.
Yeah. So sorry about that. But of course, because of the Harry Potter musical, him and his friends Brian Holden, Matt Lang, and Nit Lang form Star Kid Productions. And that is a lot of the other shit Chris gets up to outside of his Hollywood world. His role of Blaine was an instant breakout, particularly the cover of Teenage Dream, as we mentioned earlier, had a huge sales effect. It changed the way in which the series used the Warblers, the all-male school a cappella group that Darren Criss' character attends in season 2. Derek, don't worry about it. And then since Glee, he's had a ton of voice roles. He had a significant recurring role on Transformers, Robots in Disguise. He was Raphael on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's been in Rick and Morty, Solar Opposites. And of course, he has been attached to other Murphy productions. My only, I don't know, take it for how you will, because I think Chris is an ally to queer people. But in 2024, he was on a panel and he identified as being culturally queer. And that rubbed a lot of us kind of strangely because he is a heterosexual cisgender man.
I believe, I'm going to misquote this. I'm trying to find it now, but he is straight. Or, whatever, maybe culturally queer or whatever. But he was approached about like, well, you've played a lot of queer characters. And he was called out on this when he was in American Crime Story playing Andrew Cunanan, the like killer of Gianni Versace or whatever. And there was this I'm trying to find the quote, but there's this very funny quote where he's like, I promise I won't play queer characters, but maybe this serial killer isn't like the best representation anyway. And I'm like the only, like, he's got the exact same kind of background in terms of Andrew Cunanan. And he's like, I'm the only guy like him who's a famous actor that Ryan Murphy knows who's the same age. So I'm getting the role. Sorry, everyone, or whatever. Wow. And it was like I think it's like one of those funny interview then put into text. So it sounds really like egotistical. But he's definitely an ally. He's Blaine. Come on now.
Yeah.
Has he ever said anything, given his Harry Potter connections, has he ever said anything about J.K. Rowling?
Do you know, I didn't find any of that, Derek. So I would feel very encouraged.
Someone needs to ask him
if he had.
And I would love to hear what his opinions are.
Yeah.
They should just make a fourth one. They should make another one of those musicals and talk about it a lot.
Yeah, just burn.
I think that would be amazing, actually.
Burn her in effigy. Well, let's turn our sights to someone a little bit more that fills my heart, doesn't empty my heart, and that's Jane Lynch as Sue Sylvester. This is incredible because to me, Jane Lynch has always been around, and yet that just simply isn't true, David. But the first thing she ever did was star in a commercial for Frosted Flakes directed by Christopher Guest.
Oh, there you go. That makes so much sense, actually.
And if you have not seen this is a Christopher Guest directed commercial. It is them being like awkwardly interviewed about their love for Tony the Tiger. But they're playing it straight. Like it's Waiting for fucking Guffman. Like it is Christopher Guest.
Hi, I'm Steve. This is Kathy.
Hi.
And we have not seen Tony as yet, but it's going to happen.
We put in a lot of hours each day. We keep our eye on the door.
Yeah.
And he's always got the camera ready.
I've got the camera. I'm a kind of a home hobbyist photographer.
He's
and
wonderful.
We've got an album full of pictures of Tony, sort of.
You can't really make them out, but
I mean, we can see it because we were there. But
they have their own beauty, I think.
Hey, oh.
No.
They're great.
I mean, I definitely saw her first in Best in Show.
Yep. And You Like Many Other People, because that is like her big breakout role. And of course, it's because she connected with Guest, and she is playing like a open lesbian in this like early film from Guest. I mean, not early, it's not Guffman, but it's pretty early. And that's very, very exciting. And she's starring opposite Jennifer fucking Coolidge. So like instantly you have all the cred you need in the world for me, Jane.
I was just going to say, I mean, you're probably going to say this, but from beginning to end of my Glee binge, Jane Lynch is the best character actor. She gets to do so much. Like, even in this episode, she has a few funny lines, but like, she's both the villain, she's very moving, she's, even when the show gets preposterous, she is able to adapt to the tone correctly. You know, can't say enough good things about her.
Truly.
I don't know that she's ever bad. I feel like that she's good in anything that she's in. Like, honestly, or at least she brings it every time. Like, yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she has tons of credits. So just the things that we've covered on Gimmicks, she was in News Radio, Frasier, The West Wing, X-Files, and Arrested Development. Then she has the run of Glee. She keeps working during Glee, which is not true for everyone on the cast, but she's not getting quite as much music residuals as everyone else because Sue doesn't perform as much until she does her Nicki Minaj rap.
Excuse me?
Excuse me? What just happened? I will say she is the most awarded cast member of Glee.
Deserved, I think.
Agreed. Totally agreed. But that's fighting against like, you know, Teen Choice giving like best kiss to Finn and Rachel. Barf. Cool. Should have gone to like Sue and herself because she does marry herself in an episode. From there, she's in Wreck-It Ralph, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, The Great North, and of course she has a nice stretch on Only Murders in the Building. Maybe the most redeeming part of a pretty bad season of the show.
Yeah. Always happy to see her. I know that she's currently the host of The Weakest Link.
Hamish,
and she did like,
that's so perfect. That like makes so much sense.
And she did like a Glee reunion episode with like everyone's Glee cast. And that made me realize, because as we'll go into, I'm sure, so much of the lead cast have problems, or like there's, you know, certain cast members don't like each other. Some have passed away. She's kind of become the sort of de facto face of Glee now, or like the representative of this brand. And I do wonder if there was ever to be any kind of reboot, she would be probably the only cast member that came back, you know, without cameos and stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. My favorite Jane Lynch role of all time is actually coming from her role in 2003 as the Oscorp executive for one scene in the MTV CG animated Spider-Man show. And then she remained in the Spider-Man universe just before she blew up in Glee as Joan Jameson in the Spectacular Spider-Man. Wow. So she's actually like deep in the Spider-Man mythos as well.
Derek, can I tell you, I saw this Oscorp thing and I thought, I'm not going to put this on. This just seems like it was real.
It's like a bit, because like if you watch an episode, like it is so obviously her, but it's like it's funny to think of like Jane Lynch as being like someone who wasn't well known enough to just be like, yeah, I'll take like a 3-line animated voiceover role in your show that's like not even a named character. Like obviously that would never happen. Even when she was Joan Jameson, like she was like, they would have cast her from Christopher Guest stuff, not from Glee at the time, which is just very funny to think about. Like she would be doing fucking Spider-Man cartoons now, you know?
Right.
She would be an incredible Power Rangers villain though.
She would. She totally
She absolutely would.
Yeah.
All right. We're just going to talk about one more person, and then we're going to talk about the 3 actors who are no longer with us. And that person that we must talk about is Lea Michele as Rachel. Okay. So again, I'm going to start nonpartisan. Her Broadway debut is in 1995 in Les Mis as young Cosette. Like the dream role for any girl who wants to like do Broadway. She continued on Broadway before the Glee casting. The role of Rachel was specifically made for Lea Michele by Ryan Murphy, in what we are now learning is a pretty common thing with Murphy. She does a fair bit of television post Glee and then returns to Broadway as the lead in Funny Girl. Now let's talk about Lea Michele.
I know that people don't like her in real life for very, very many good reasons. But so when I was watching this, I honestly was like kind of thankful that she's the one playing Rachel, because I hated Rachel every second that she was on screen in this episode. Like I'm like, oh, you tried to write Cordelia Chase, but you did it like so horrendously badly.
And yet, she's a she's a star. I'm sorry, she's a star. So there's a line from an episode that is oft kind of quoted and repeated where Kurt is watching her perform and says, I think something along the lines of, I know she's annoying, but God, she's talented.
Yeah.
And the pilot introduces her. It's such a funny, like, perfect 5-minute kind of monologue introducing everything about her. And she's an extremely heightened character. Now, you could watch the pilot and kind of maybe think that she's kind of going to be the villain of the season.
Yes.
Because she's she is the quintessential nightmare theater kid overachiever who you do sort of want to root for because you know that she's talented, you know that she like wants it more than anybody else. But then probably because she and Ryan are, I kind of see them as like codependent nightmares who like will only talk to each other. And because she's talented, because I'm certain she knew her lines and knew her marks and was telling people off for not being on time or whatever, she does become the main character and she has to adjust to be the main character. And so even in this episode, she's got the comedy stuff of like, I want 15 Christmas presents and I want this and I want the solo and I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. But then we're meant to the next scene just sort of be like, oh, Rachel, like,
yeah.
And it's, the show does that for 6 seasons.
It really does. It really does. It's
but
exhausting.
I love
That's
her.
like-
I'm sorry.
That is the biggest endorsement for me to not ever bother watching any more of this show.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
Hamish is absolutely right. The pilot sets up a different Rachel than we get by season 2, because then she's sort of like found her hero arc. And now in this episode, the Christmas episode, she's always terrible in Christmas episodes. And not for nothing, but like Jewish. So
Sure.
we get a happy Hanukkah right at the end.
Was that ADR'd where someone was watching it back being like, wait.
Oh, Hamish. It was 100% ADR at the end.
So funny.
Very
okay.
odd.
In June of 2020, Leah Michelle posts about the George Floyd demonstrations and reactions that the community is having, which leads to her season 6 Glee co-star Samantha Marie Ware to comment on Michelle's traumatic microaggressions while on set. And everyone is kind of like, yeah, I don't know that I would call it that, but you were sort of a bully all of the years that we spent together, and that has fractured our relationship. And it seems like this may be the first time Leah Michelle recognized that, and she did have what felt like a very, very, very well done moment of inflection in her life.
Okay, good for her then.
And
I thought people just generally didn't like her, and I always heard her and the rumor that like she can't read or something.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but I'm sure that was. I mean, I'm sure that's like just like a joke or whatever. But it's just like I don't know. People seem to not like her generally. It feels like.
I'm glad you bring up the illiteracy meme, because it actually gives me a chance to talk about Amber Riley and Leah Michelle, in that they had probably one of the biggest fractures of relationships, and because of Leah Michelle's internal sort of reflection, they repaired it enough that when the illiteracy memes came out, Amber Riley was one of the first people to say, like, no, this is a person who came to work very dedicated. She absolutely can fucking read.
Sure.
I think the thing, well, if you just Google like compilation of Leah Michelle not being able to read, is quite funny, because it's literally like she'll be at award shows and opening up like the letter and then like showing someone and then reading it for her, or they'll be like, there's like actual, it's not out of nowhere, it's like a funny conspiracy theory.
Yes,
that is almost definitely not true, and she does joke about it herself now.
Yes, she's come around as well,
Good for her.
which was good, because when she was defensive, it was uncomfortable.
I think, so the person who initially started making this accusation joined in season 6, and the show had already been cancelled. They already knew this was the final season, and Rachel had truly been upgraded to main character. There's like, she is in every scene and whatever. And you watch it back and you're like, she's definitely going to be a nightmare to work with. She has been a theatre kid since she was however old Cosette is meant to be in Les Mis, and is the lead of the biggest show on Fox, and sadly, to spoil it, has been through some really tough stuff, and is probably an incredibly nightmarish person to work with. And what's interesting is once this accusation was made, it seemed like some cast members kind of defended her, but others kind of felt like, oh, thank God, can we actually talk about how much of a nightmare she was?
Yeah.
I've never heard something that is like, never work again. Go away.
Okay.
Don't even come back to Hollywood or whatever. You are a nightmare. I think she probably, like you said, her love is being on stage and theater, and Broadway people feel crazy anyway. So
Yeah.
I think she's like slowly repairing. I've not heard bad things about her in current day, but I'm sure many of these people would never work with her again.
But she was not on the Celebrity Weakest Link, Derek. The homecoming of Glee did not include Lea Michele.
Got it.
I was a little surprised because there's a little bit of a feeling about the two actors who are doing the rewatch podcast as well. So Kevin McHale also wasn't there, but I was a little surprised that the actor who plays Tina Cohen-Chain was there. That's Jenna Ushowitz was there. So, but there's some feelings on the cast about that.
Sure.
Another fun Google is just compilation of Glee cast hating Lea Michele, because again, it's like little moments in interviews or little clips from podcasts of them, like if the cracks are there before the kind of blow up as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, I unfortunately now have to talk about the actors who have passed away, because it's not just that they passed away and I want to give them honor in their memory, but it becomes sort of a big deal in the Glee universe about the passing of these folks. So the first is Corey Monteith, who played Finn. He had actually always struggled with substance use. Ever since he was an adolescent, he has participated in a few rehabilitation programs to help him get on track. Acting was a big part of that. He started at 21 and had successful guest spots on Smallville, Supernatural, Stargate SG-1. He joins Glee, and that also propels him to start being involved in some independent films, which he is getting recognized for. But in March of 2013, the Glee cast really have to sit down and say, what's going on, Corey? It's too much. You're back on. Like, we need to help you. And he goes back into rehab. By July of 2013, and on July 13th of 2013, Monteith is found dead in his hotel room after an accidental drug overdose. Because it is happening during production, Glee decides to honor his character and the actor in an episode called The Quarterback, which happens, I think it's season 5, Hamish, or is that season 6 as well?
Yeah, it's the third episode of season 5.
Yeah.
He's not mentioned for the first 2 episodes of that season.
That's right.
Which is
right.
You'll explain.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, because it just related to what we watched for this, mirroring the events of this episode, fans of the show raised money and did name a star after Corey Monteith.
Aw.
And there's a bit at the end of season 4 where Rachel looks up at the sky, and it's meant to be implied that that's what she's doing, and it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Aw. That's really sweet.
All right, the next cast member who passes away in chronological order is Mark Sailing, who plays Puck. He doesn't have a lot of TV experience. He was on one episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, and so Glee is his big thing. But in December of 2015, he is arrested for having the possession of child pornography after a tip from one of his ex-girlfriends. He is tried and pleads guilty in December of 2017, and in January of 2018, he dies by suicide before he can be sentenced.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's the weirdest one to talk about or like even acknowledge the character, really. It's just really rough.
Yeah.
I mean, the other weird thing, just in general, like these 2 actors were like 27 when the show started, playing 16-year-olds.
Right.
And unfortunately on the rewatch, there's a lot of weird moments where like, sadly, his character is quite like creepy, like intentionally in the text. So there's a lot of weird scenes of him like, he starts off like he's a 16-year-old dating older women, and then there's his character grows up, he starts like dating younger. It's just very weird. So an unpleasant part of a rewatch for sure.
Yeah.
Oof.
Then the final person we have to talk about is Naya Rivera, who plays Santana. She is a frequent guest star in her early career during the golden age of black sitcoms. She appears on a recurring role on The Bernie Mac Show. She also has guest spots on Fresh Prince, Family Matters, a bunch of other things that aired during this time. But then she struggles to find work. During an early season of American Idol, she even tries out for American Idol. It may be season 1, but I can't get confirmation on this. She doesn't make it to like the judging portion. So she like fails the producer judging portion. She doesn't even make it to screen. Then in 2009, she is Santana in Glee. She is one of the cast members who elevates their role after being cast. Like, Santana was not a planned out character. This was not going to be one of the most amazing queer representatives that we've had on television. Like, Kurt and Blaine, I love. Santana to the moon. I think this was all about Rivera and all about Rivera's performances. From there, she has a 2-season run on Step Up High Water, and then on July 8th, 2020, she dies from drowning after helping her son, Josie Dorsey, return to the boat that they were on after weather had gone inclement and then the water was unsafe.
Wow.
Yeah. This one's really sad. It makes me cry thinking about.
That's really sad.
Yeah, Santana is 100% like the good side of not planning things out. Like, yes. We've talked a lot how, like, Ryan Murphy spins his wheels and stuff. She's literally a backing dancer in the first episode and then goes on to be, you know, Kurt comes out, or, like, it's a storyline in, like, the first few episodes, and Santana has, like, a very long-going lesbian and bisexual sort of storyline throughout the show. And I think because they didn't plan it out, I think they were able to kind of write it. I mean, it goes in other weird directions, obviously. Every character storyline does in this. But I got the real sense that she felt very proud of her work on this.
Yes.
And, like, was very happy to be that representation for people.
Yeah. Rivera's body was not found until July 13th, which was also the date of Monteith's death. And that was pretty traumatic for the cast and crew, as well as a lot of the fans of the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's rough.
After things were settled, Ryan Murphy publicly declared that he would start a fund for her son's college, and he did not follow through on that.
Oh my God.
I didn't know that. Okay. I take back.
Lord.
He's a nightmare. Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, it's very sad. It's very sad. We'll never know quite what happened, but it does seem to be that, like, she gave her life to save her son.
Yeah.
Which is very, very sad.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah. And she was one of those people who, like, definitely was going to have, like, big
huge
career and stuff.
Huge career.
She's really cool.
Yeah.
That's upsetting.
Yeah.
Let's swerve away to some fun Christmas stuff.
Hey, sadness is part of Christmas too, Derek.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is the lesson that I learned in this episode for sure. So the gimmick of this episode, it is a Christmas episode, obviously. That's the big thing. There's a little more to it, but like for Christmas episodes, this is the thing that Glee has done and will return to. The first Christmas episode they had like Sue and a kind of how the Grinch Stole Christmas role. Was that the previous season to this? Like
That's
season
correct.
2, I'm assuming.
Season 1 didn't have a Christmas episode, so season 2 was the first one.
So this is the second Christmas episode. They do a couple of other ones in seasons 4 and 5. So they do continue the tradition a bit. Apparently, I'm just now learning that season 4 is a Love Actually riff, and season 5 is some sort of flashback episode.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's more to say about that, but sure.
They're both contenders for gimmicks. This was the best one.
Oh, that's great. Cool.
Great
endorsement.
The last one is maybe the worst episode of Glee for me. It's
cool.
Heinous. The one after this is just extremely odd and maybe offensive.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds about right.
I think calling it a Love Actually riff was very generous of me, because that's what they were trying to do. Achieved, I give it a D-.
I mean, I think you could kind of say the same for this one, is that, like,
Agreed.
there are things you can say that this episode is trying to do, and whether or not it accomplishes what it's trying to do homage wise, I think we can talk about. There's 3 Christmas specials that this is in theory and conceptually meant to be riffing on in some ways that it's pulling from. The Judy Garland Christmas show from 1963, the Star Wars Christmas special from 1978, and a Charlie Brown Christmas from 1965. Obviously an array of Christmas specials that you may or may not be familiar with, but are important pieces of pop culture for varying reasons. I do think that it feels pretty inarguable that the Judy Garland Christmas show is the thing it most leans on, and that is like bits and pieces of other things are thrown in here.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. And we can put a note in the show notes, but there is a great blogger who has done like a scene by scene analysis of this and the Judy Garland Christmas show. And yes, they did their homework. This set is identical. The framing shots they do of Blaine in the window with Judy in the window are identical. It's a well done homage. I just wish it was actually the episode and not this like stupid envelope we had to live with in order to get here. This is actually kind of fun. I liked when they got there.
There's that, but I also wonder, do you think that the reason that they also like just randomly bring up Star Wars and then randomly have like Charlie Brown Christmas stuff in there is because they were just worried that like straight people or younger people watching this just wouldn't be familiar with the Judy Garland thing, and so they didn't want to go fully in that? I don't know that I fully would like believe that, because they literally name drop it in this episode. So it's like they tell you what they're referencing it, but it just I can't comprehend why they throw in the references to these other Christmas specials that they then like barely utilize, like why they're there at all.
It makes Artie, who's directing this, seem insane. Like,
right, yeah,
we're meant to believe as the show goes on that he's like got promise as a director.
Yes.
What? Why is he mixing these things together? I mean, I will say he uses his budget well, because he spends $800 on this. In the dialogue we hear, it's $800 is his maximum thing, and he recreates a Judy Garland's living room flawlessly. Gets Star Wars costumes and effects. Gets choreography, dancing, like a working fire. So maybe from that perspective, like, he will be a good director. And apparently does it in half a day.
Wow. Are we meant to believe that this is filmed live and was actually being, because I'm really unclear on how they talk about it. Like, I thought they were filming the Christmas special, but then at the end they're sort of like it makes it seem like it was literally airing on Christmas, so it seemed like that it's a live show.
Just bonkers all over this.
Again, just feels a little first drafty to me, I guess, but
there was a lot of critique when the episode came out on the, Reddit discussion forum about them including a non-Christmas song as part of the act. But I will say Judy's Christmas special also has Broadway songs. It's pretty common for Christmas specials to have Broadway songs that have nothing to do with Christmas in them. And so that actually felt like more of an homage than a like cheat for me.
Sure.
I watched the Judy Garland Christmas special today as well, and the recreation of a set is impressive. One thing I think is quite funny is that if we're kind of putting characters on things, Kurt is basically playing Judy and doing an impression, but then Rachel comes in and is, I guess, playing Liza Minnelli, but she's also just trying to do Judy and trying to like kind of take it from Kurt, which I think is quite funny.
It is funny.
Yeah, let me just say, I feel a little bit like I do about a lot of kind of parodies. Is I had a bit more fun watching the Judy Garland Christmas special. Like the jokes were funnier, the performances were better, it was more endearing. So I don't know.
This was the first time I'd watched it. I only watched it for the first time to get ready for this, and I had a blast with it. So I'm glad that this episode made me go back and watch that, and it was great. I have seen other versions of this, but I'd never actually seen Judy Garland's.
I mean, the only I guess other like making of episode things before we just talk about any specific stuff that's in this, I think we talked around it, like they had a Christmas album previously that was successful, so of course they're going to do another Christmas episode so they can have another Christmas album, and they'd have an original song with it that they would be able to write, and I think that extraordinary Merry Christmas song that's the only original song in this one, right? Everything else is a song that they're covering.
That's correct. Though the Christmas album did have a second original song on it performed by Morrison and Mays, who are a sort of in-universe couple. And that was called Christmas Eve with You. Also not great.
Cool. Apparently this extraordinary Merry Christmas song is one of the most well-reviewed original songs from the series. I gotta be honest, I don't remember which song that is. if I heard it, I probably just assumed it was a Christmas song I didn't know. So that's news to me, but that's cool. But I also fast forwarded through some of the musical sequences as I was watching this, to be fair. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Derek. Truly, cool. And
I'm
honestly,
glad. I felt bad because I am not one to do. I love a musical sequel. You know, I love a fucking musical.
Oh, absolutely.
But there was a lot of it in here, and a lot of it was just. I was like, I need to be done with this. And then the episode kept going.
Well,
and then I was like, oh, we're still doing it. And then there would be a commercial break. And then there's a whole other act. And I'm like, how is this the longest episode of TV I've ever watched, even though I'm fast forwarding through half of it?
And do you want
that was my experience with it. Sorry.
Do you want a crime against humanity? Santana has a cut song of her performing Santa Baby in a jewelry with in like a jewelry store with Finn trying to find earrings for Rachel. And we did 2 verses of certain things like my favorite things. One verse would have been enough of my favorite things. I know the song.
I mean, this is where sadly Matthew Morrison's direction really is a crime as well, because like the I'd never heard this. I'm sorry, Elvis Blue Christmas song, but the song that Rory sings, it just slowly the camera goes around him the whole thing, and then they end it with being like, "Wow, I want to kill myself. That was so boring." But I'm like, that doesn't.
Yeah,
like, make it okay. If you can't just like do a boring song and then say, "Wow, that was boring."
Well, if your characters feel that way, so does the audience. So like, cut it. Yeah. Just cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, yeah. Let's just jump into other things about the episode, because it's really just a list of Christmas songs. Like, there's not a lot of plot here.
No, I think that was my like the sort of. It's wild to me that they don't get to the gimmicky stuff. That's the most interesting for like. Literally halfway through the episode. I think it's like 20 something minutes into it.
It sucks.
Yeah. And because all the opening stuff, I mean, I'm okay with a Christmas episode of a show being very light on plot and being very, you know, it doesn't have to be anything super deep. I'm fine with that. But like if you're going to do that, I do feel like you can't feel like you're just sort of wasting time and padding time until you get to your gimmicky thing. That's kind of how it felt like to me. I was just like, when are we going to get to the Christmas special?
Yeah. Yeah.
My rewrite for this episode is just you open with the Christmas special and then you cut away maybe to kind of explain, or you just do. So one thing that's quite endearing about the Judy Garland one is that it seems filmed live. And so there's flubs and there's like awkward moments and like the kind of stagey, like we're a family stuff is, you know, cringy, but there's like tiny little moments of them making each other laugh or like sort of forgetting their lines and stuff. It's kind of weird they don't lean into that more and make it more like we find out during the course of them filming this that they got this bizarre opportunity to do some public access Christmas special, and they're like fighting for who's gonna be the lead, blah blah blah.
Brilliant.
I love that.
But it's just, this is what I'm talking about, where like there's no grounding in the show anymore at all. It's just like the characters, you know, are now doing a parody of that thing, and I know I joked about like, hey, he had $800 to make this, but wouldn't it be much more endearing if like we saw the effort they put into recreating this, and like other Glee members like throwing snow backstage and things like that.
I agree with you. I totally like that like rewrite idea, and I do think that like as much as I've ragged on this show this whole time, I do think it's like often really really funny. I think that the jokes really land, and I do think when they are committed to the bit, when they're doing this special, and it is very clear that like, oh, you are not doing more than one take of this, like I think it's really really funny to see them figure it, and just like the way that they're constantly like that, like Leah Michelle is like constantly looking at the camera and like awkwardly the entire time. I thought that was really really funny.
Really funny.
Like that's a good deployment of that type of character. I think that that's beautiful. Like I like it going back and forth between being like, oh, this is really well made, to like, this is kind of a shit show, but an endearing shit show. Like, I think that balance works, but it's like, there's not enough of it, which is surprising to me for a show that you'd think would be happy to just like go whole hog on something like this.
Seriously. Yeah. That I think is the disappointment, is that you get to see how good the Christmas special is, and then we waste so much time with like, here's my Christmas list, and like, I'm sad because I'm from Ireland. Like it just doesn't work. Also, I'm sad and I'm from Ireland, I'm gonna sing an Elvis song. No, get out of here, Rory.
Yeah, it's a shame, because also like the actual the Judy Garland parody is kind of funny. But again, it's like the joke it can't really decide if it's like a cutaway gag or if like this is actually the episode.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah.
And you're right, Hamish. Like a noises off of them like backstage would have been so clutch for all of this.
Yeah. Also, just to be a Glee nerd,
There's
a whole episode, I think in season 1, about how doing like TV work means that they aren't allowed to qualify for like Glee competitions.
Yes.
And they're like banned from they're like banned from a competition. It might be even this season or season 2 or 1. I don't know. There's a whole episode where they do a mattress ad and they get like banned from competing. And I guess the rules have changed now because whatever.
It's Christmas.
It's
Christmas.
It's Christmas, Hamish. It's Christmas. Yeah, season 1, Hamish. That is where Will Schuester has to take the blame for the Glee kids doing it, and that's why he can't go to sectionals.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. I also just like I think we talked around this too. It's just like another thing that frustrates me about this whole idea is that like if this is like a local access thing, I do wish that they'd lean harder on this being a low budget thing. But everything on this show always has to look beautiful and perfect. And it's like, I don't know, like you gotta, I don't know, pick a lane, I guess. Like if they wanted to make it a spot on parody of it that is really impressive, then I think you just commit the whole episode to it. But if you do want to lean on the fact that they're doing the public access thing, then like have fun with that aspect of it, that they're doing this on a low budget.
They fully do dream sequences and stuff in latest, episode where they all drink some bad eggnog and Kurt has a campy Judy Garland dream is like another way they could have done this.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I would have explained like then they could have had more fun with like having Star Wars characters randomly show up because like it's literally a dream. Like you can
exactly.
You can
I mean it's not just a Star Wars. They do parody the way the Star Wars holiday special starts.
Yes.
But another weird part about that is that it kind of introduces all the Glee characters, whether or not if they're actually in the special. It's like, it's Tina and Mike. And you're like, okay, footage not found. It's
That's so true.
And, and then a small portion of the cast are like pushed aside into the like, soup kitchen plotline.
Yeah. It is bananas to me that they got an authentic Chewbacca suit for this. And that is Peter Mayhew like in the suit, right? Like they actually
that is Peter Mayhew
brought him over to play Chewie to cameo in this.
Yeah, this is
it's just it's just strange. It's just like not mad about it, I guess. It's just odd. And it feels, I guess it's like it's so underused because if it was like for one cutaway thing, I'd be like, I appreciate the commitment to that bit. But the fact that it keeps coming up multiple times, but still not enough to feel like well integrated into it, like that part confuses me a lot.
Here's the deal. I don't like this episode. A cut to Artie's dream of Chewbacca teaching a class, and behind him is just the letter R repeated 100 times.
That's funny. That is
an excellent joke.
Very funny joke.
I would have forgiven this episode loads because they keep mentioning this Star Wars holiday special, but it's like a thing that Lucasfilm whatever doesn't really acknowledge, and they don't like release the footage whatever. But why didn't someone sing B. Arthur's incredible Old Friends song? like cut away to Sue singing it or something. I don't know.
Right. I think that they wanted to make the joke about the Star Wars holiday special because it's a thing in pop culture people make a joke about, but no one wanted to actually bother to like watch it or pay any attention to it. Like I wouldn't be surprised if no one working on this episode ever actually watched it, but watched maybe the opening sequence of it and we're like, we'll parody that and then throw Chewie in here. And that's it, because nothing else about this has any reference to the holiday special at all.
Derek, this is News Radio watches the trailer for Titanic.
Trailer for Titanic. It's exactly what that is. Nobody fucking ever watched the Star Wars special.
Wow, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because there's so many specific things that I think this show would have had. Like they would have done like Mark Hamill, like in way too much makeup in that holiday special. They would have had someone like that. It would have been, and that would have been very funny. And it would have been a thing that like maybe would have been lost in some of the audience, but the image of it on screen would have been funny enough that it would have been fine.
Right.
So no one on the show fucking watched the Star Wars holiday special. I'm like positive about that.
Oh, how rude of me. Ladies and gentlemen, Finn Hudson and Noah Puckerman.
Say, are you dressed like Luke Skywalker and Han Solo?
No, that's copyright infringement. Any resemblance to Star Wars characters is purely coincidental.
It's also like, I don't know, it was funny when they have the whoever is in the Luke Skywalker costume shows up and he's just like holding an actual lightsaber, and then the lightsaber is colored blue in this black and white thing, which is very weird.
Yeah.
And also it's like curved in a way that was like a little bit uncomfortable to look at.
Very cheap. Like,
yeah.
Very odd.
Very odd.
Yeah,
The
it's
whole
just an
thing.
odd
Very
choice.
odd.
Very strange.
Very,
all
very
of it,
odd.
all of it is weird. Yeah.
Yeah. The other sort of runner is that like we're all struggling with like what is Christmas, because it's a Christmas episode, and that's the food that you serve for a Christmas episode is like, what is Christmas? Sam is the one who like has a moral compass, and he goes to leave and ring a Salvation Army bell. It is pretty grotesque based on what was coming out about the Salvation Army in the late 2000s, early 2010s, right before this episode airs, that you would give any words to Salvation Army on an episode with so much queer representation in it.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that either.
It's pretty disgusting.
There is a certain unique sparkle to a show's second Christmas special where they do all of their Christmas special stuff they've been wanting to do in the first one, and then they have to do the second one and like, Star Wars? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
yeah.
It's bizarre and just kind of like not funny. Like, I guarantee you some episodes of Glee are like laugh out loud funny throughout. I did write down like lines that made me laugh, but like none of them, I guess almost none of them are in the actual gimmick part of it,
right?
Which felt very just like, okay, I get the joke, and we're still going, and we're still going, and we're still going. Like, if that had just been the setting for a Let It Snow dance scene with Kurt and Blaine, I think I would have got everything I needed out of that.
Sure.
But I guess part of Christmas special fun is like, oh, you're coming to visit, and now you're here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, and you know, like it's like allowed to be a little bit like self-indulgent too.
Yeah.
I think is like fine, but again, it's like then I don't know, commit to it even harder. Make more jokes in this sequence. That if you're gonna do it,
cut Rachel's terrible river song that we're doing in the auditorium for God knows what reason, and just be in this house more and do more bits. Like, ugh.
This is what I'm saying. I can't remember the reason for why her singing that song required like a costume and set dressing and everything. Like, this is an underfunded arts program in Ohio high school.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, Hamish. You gotta go in and give it your all if you're gonna put on rehearsal for New Directions. Also, and you know what? Sorry to just take over. The group's name is New Directions.
Yeah.
Yet nowhere ever in the run of the show does anyone make a joke that it sounds like nude erections. And I feel like that's criminal.
I disagree.
You disagree that it's criminal, or you disagree that it sounds like it?
It's not perfectly done.
Okay.
But in the very first episode, Mr. Shu is saying, we need a name for Glee Club. It cuts to him having just had sex with his wife, and he goes, that's it. New Directions.
Perfect. You know what? You've
I
really...
think they start with a joke.
That's
and
perfect.
I've been baffled by recently
That's
there's been a
funny.
whole thing being like, did you realize it's that? And it's like, maybe you didn't because you're a kid when watching, but I knew.
I knew from the name. I just didn't connect it to him having sex with his wife.
Well,
that's fine.
Derek, all of the teams they compete against have inappropriate names. There's Throat Explosion, Vocal... No, what are they called? But some of them aren't quite. Vocal
adrenaline is
one,
just whatever. Who cares?
There's a few, a lot of them to do with mouths and like gasping and all kinds of weird stuff.
I'm gonna use Throat Explosion in my life.
It's funny. It's also a show about kids, apparently, all played by 27-year-olds.
I don't know. But, again, they're 30 by the time the series is over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like really big that well, do you want to talk about Rory and his Itchy the elf situation? I mean,
No.
what is
there to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about how terrible it is. Like, it is just...
I mean, it's bad. Is there more to say other than it sucks?
Well, here's the deal. Why does this work in Charlie Brown when Linus does it? And it hits me like a hammer when it happens here. Like, that's the thing I'm struggling with.
But like, I maybe there's more to say, but I do think it's as simple as Charlie Brown is Charlie Brown and Glee is Glee. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, fair.
There's a very different vibe that you get from a Charlie Brown Christmas special.
This is me discovering that this was a reference to Charlie Brown, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hamish. Yeah, the Charlie Brown Christmas. Linus discovers the meaning of Christmas and then reads Bible quotes.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never seen a Charlie Brown Christmas special because I was a Jehovah's Witness growing up and did not celebrate.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I have an excuse. I only know this because of cultural osmosis, honestly.
Charlie Brown he's never made it in the UK, I'm afraid. They've tried many times, but
Wow.
he's just
Yeah.
there's actually quite a few references in this in this episode that made me, because I was going to be on a podcast with you guys, I was realizing how different certain things are.
Yeah.
Like, and one of them is music. Like, there's over here, we know All I Want for Christmas Is You, obviously, but I just think there's a lot of Christmas songs that are quite kind of regional.
Different. Yeah.
And
Makes
like,
sense, yeah.
if you ever watch a Doctor Who Christmas special, there'll be one of two Christmas songs that are very UK Christmas songs, and I guess aren't as well known everywhere else.
Sure.
And also the final song, Do They Know It's Christmas?
Woof.
I'm so glad. I'm so
I was
glad we're
watching
there.
this with my husband, and this is when he left.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
choice. Good choice.
Because they're so earnest about it in this. It's like, guys, and like, I don't know. People knew in 2010 that like maybe that was a little bit insensitive, right? Like,
I was going to bring this up because this is funny, because the original UK version was criticized for being a white savior song because it was mostly white singers. So when the American cover was made, it was like intentionally tried to get as many black singers as possible. And then Glee is covering it where there's one black character and she's had like no lines this episode basically. And then they're singing it to a kind of soup kitchen, which is very clearly a redressed room of the school set. It's like so
my God,
nondescript. Woof.
Yeah, woof.
Yeah,
Woof.
and also just like like the song itself is a problematic song for the whole white savior aspect to it. Like, you can look into it more if you want to know the whole history of that song and everything. But also, even in the context of this episode, like, the lesson is absurd because this whole it's a classic like what is the meaning of Christmas? Should we do a thing for ourselves or do a thing to give back to the world? And the Glee Club is given the opportunity to film a TV special, but it's the same time as they were going to volunteer and sing at the homeless shelter. Like, sure, whatever. It's like silly, but it's classic Christmas special stuff. The way that this episode then addresses it is that they filmed the Christmas special and then just go to the soup kitchen afterwards. And they're sort of like, oh, did they like choose to leave and like they had a change of heart and left in the middle of it? No, they actually just like didn't have more to film because the network like cut the last 10 minutes of it as a joke. So they were just like, well, we got nothing else to do. I guess we'll go to the soup kitchen now. So no lesson learned at all, I guess. Everyone just kind of got what they want by accident.
Yeah, there's no sacrifice. Rachel mentions that they sold the iPod she bought Finn, which is like, again, these are kids, how are they affording this? Right. He also mentions, and then they also sold like the earrings we saw for one shot. We hear that he sold his Letterman jacket on eBay, which future Glee episodes will absolutely not corroborate.
Yep.
And, like you say, they don't have to make any kind of hard decision. They just get to do everything. But maybe that's the Christmas miracle.
Maybe that's the Christmas
work.
miracle at work. You know what? Yeah. It's done, and thank goodness.
Except, like, here was when I was sort of like, okay, cool, episode's done. That felt kind of long, even with fast forwarding through the songs. And then there's still another fucking scene, and then it's just Rachel getting gifts, and she keeps getting gifts. And I'm like, oh my God, stop getting her gifts. What are you doing? And then it just keeps going.
She doesn't learn anything. She asks for She gives him a list of 15 gifts and says, you can get me 5. She then gets 3, which is already too many, and gets to be on TV. And it's too much.
It's too much.
That's actually, I will say quickly, that is like a criticism of Rachel haters tend to have, is that yes, she can be a nightmare, she can be all these kind of things, but she does fall upwards and basically get everything she wants all the time. Even when she blows her audition for theatre school, she just gets let in anyway. And then when she in later seasons, she has the worst television show of all time. She gets given her own pilot, and it just is terrible. And still, she's allowed to just like win a Tony, and it, you know, she never learns anything.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All in all, anything else that we need to make sure is said about this episode and in the series that I don't think Derek and I will be returning to quickly?
That sounds like a threat.
I wrote down some of my favorite lines.
Please give them to us. Bring us some Christmas joy, Hamish.
I enjoyed when Sue mentioned that her Christmas plans of shooting reindeer from a helicopter with Sarah Palin got cancelled.
That's a good joke. That's a good fucking joke.
It's a great joke.
Yes, I laughed out loud at that.
But you mentioned this in the beginning, Hamish. But like this series is locked in time. It was very cultural referential. Like in 20 years, someone's going to be like, "Who was Sarah Palin?"
Again, spoilers for Glee, but Sue does become the vice president to, is it Mitt Romney?
Yes.
Wait, really?
Derek, it's an insane show. I don't know what to tell you, Derek.
She becomes the vice president seemingly so that she can ban Glee clubs.
That's, you know what, actually.
I support her.
That sounds like a great storyline. That maybe you have sold me on the latter era of the show. Based on that alone.
Watch the longest Sue Sylvester compilation you can find on YouTube, and you'll have a good time. Because also, one of her theme songs in one episode is the Godzilla march from Godzilla vs. Destroyer for some reason.
I have absolutely seen that scene. Yes, it's beautiful.
I want to shout out my favorite and possibly only Tina line she gets in this episode. So she summarizes the plot of the previous Christmas special at one point, saying like, "Oh, last year this happened, and Artie got a pair of magic legs that broke the next day." The previous Christmas special ends with a sincere sequence in which Artie is given robot legs donated, I think, by an Israeli billionaire.
What?
He like stands up with robot legs. They are never seen again. And this line made me laugh out loud because it's just, they broke the next day is their excuse.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. That's the kind of like
callback
insanity that I can get behind.
Yes.
Then my final favorite line is, I just hope the pig Barbara inspires the children who eat her as much as the real Barbara inspires me.
That's good. That is
clutch.
That is also good.
And we needed a laugh then, and it did deliver.
This is why I can't hate the show, because these actors can deliver lines well, and it makes me laugh. But I do think watching a compilation of funny lines or moments, you'll probably get as good a time as if you try and binge it all, like I'm going to probably do next year again.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like I said, I do find this show very funny. It's insufferable around it, but it's really funny when it's really funny. And I do think that speaks for a lot.
I have one other little Glee fact, which might be a Gimmicks exclusive, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say. But Alex Brightman, who voiced Pugsley in Dead End and now is in stuff like Has Been Hotel, he was Beetlejuice, told me once that he auditioned for Glee. And he said that the auditions, it wasn't clear. This kind of goes against the story with Chris Colfer and Artie. He says it wasn't clear what characters they were auditioning for. But in his audition, he was asked to sit down. So he believes that he auditioned for Artie.
Oh, wow.
Which is bizarre. And I will say that with Artie, the actor has said like he would never play the role again, and you know,
sure,
all that stuff. But I found that kind of interesting, and that was kind of ships in the night.
Wow.
You know what? He probably is doing better by not
possibly. Although many of this cast are now on Broadway right now.
That's true.
I think Darren, Chris, Leah Michelle, and maybe Artie are all on Broadway right now, I think.
Michaela's currently on Broadway.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. You got it, Hamish.
Good for them.
So that's what you missed on Glee.
listen. Hamish,
this was a fun time. This was a fun time. I was hating on it the whole time. This was a fucking blast, though. I would do another Glee episode if it's all of us doing it again.
Here's what I'll offer is that there's other things that we can talk about that maybe represent this world. And Hamish, maybe what we'll bring you back for is to talk about a Christmas episode of Popular, and see if you also like some of the jokes that are written there. And that might be a fun way to bring you back and keep this theme going.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I would definitely do that. I'm also very curious about Riverdale, I think, because that's going to be my next background binge. I think Glee is passing on the cursed baton to Riverdale.
Upgrade. It's an upgrade.
I believe so. I had a great time. It was very strange revisiting this out of sequence after a binge, because I had to really recalibrate everyone, who's with who and what. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Hamish, give all of our listeners a gift. Where else can they hear your voice and follow you with all the things that you're doing online?
Well, I have been on quite a few Glitterjaw shows as a guest, so if you go back through any of those amazing shows back catalogs, you'll find me. I also have a show called Super Mario Moment, where we try and pick through every morsel of the Mario multiverse. We have our own Christmas special coming out this year as well. Then my name is Hamish Steele, and I have books and things out. I have a book called Go Man, Champion of Earth. That is a superhero comic, perfect Christmas present, perhaps, for any comic book loving kids in your life. And yeah, I'm just Hamish Steele on all the social medias that matter, but I still have Unlocked.
Hamish, thank you so much for joining us. This was perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Derek, what about you? Where can people find you and the things you're working on?
Yeah, you can find me most places at Derek B. Gale. My other podcasts include Walloping Web Snappers, where we do deep dives into Spider-Man cartoons, Screonk, where we have looked at Godzilla movies. Hamish has been on a couple of times. I think we'll be in the middle of Christmas with Kong this month, because they're doing the two Kong-centered MonsterVerse movies, Kong Skull Island, and then Godzilla versus Kong as well this month. So check that out. Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge is the other podcast that I have, where we look at Simpsons tie-in video games. We would have just done Simpsons Hit and Run last month, and then the end of this month we're doing part 2 of our Simpsons Hit and Run episode, because we're splitting that up because it's a big game and a lot to talk about. And also Falling with Style, it's where we did our Pixar movie marathon. We've also talked about other animation in film as well. So what about you, David?
Yeah, you can find me almost everywhere as DMuma. That's DMUMA. And I have a podcast here on Glitterjaw as well, where my friends Marilee and Tyler and I engage with some aspect of horror media, and then we talk about how gay everything is. Earlier this month, Derek joined us to talk about Child's Play, and I finally got to explore Chucky for the first time. And it's been doll summer ever since. So there's creepy dolls. I think our next episode that'll come up after this is Mithrigan. So look forward to that if you are excited about inanimate objects becoming animate and scaring you.
Bring me on when Fear Coded covers the Saw episode of Glee. Just let me know.
I'm going to have questions about this after we finish.
Yeah, after we finish.
Gimmicks is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com.
And if you want to support this show by giving us a little tip, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmicspod. You can also follow the podcast at gimmicspod on Blue Sky and Instagram. Email us your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmicspodcast@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on all your podcast platforms. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
It's a very, very merry, merry Christmas. Gonna party until Santa grants my wishes. Got my halo on, I know what I want. It's who I live. It's an extraordinary, merry Christmas.
I just hope that pig Barbara inspires all of the children who eat her as much as the real Barbara inspired me.